Genetics. They decide your eye colour, your hair colour, whether you'll be a talented musician or whether you'll be tone deaf. They decide pretty much everything about you before you're even conscious of your surroundings. So the new Mercedes-Benz SL's fate was decided long before it hit the road.
The SL got its name from what was arguably the first ever supercar, and if you don't subscribe to that particular school of thinking, then you'd be hard pressed to deny the fact that it was one of the coolest cars ever made. That car was 1954's 300 SL.
The 300 SL, otherwise known as the Gullwing or Thing of Your Dreams, was so named thanks to its 3-litre engine and its sporty and light, or sportleicht, qualities.
The first generation was obviously pornography on wheels, and the second generation remains one of the most beautiful cars ever to grace the roads. The third generation was very blocky and 80s-ish and had the second longest production run of any Mercedes after the G-Wagon. The fourth generation was even blockier but perfectly suited the 90s, which was the decade in which it fell. The fifth generation was very smooth and swoopy and cool, perfectly befitting a turn-of-the-century car such as it was. And now we're on the sixth generation. It looks remarkably similar to its predecessor.
Which is a good thing. Its lines are linked back to its granddad: long bonnet, power lines shining proud, aerodynamic efficiency with a hint of the second-gen stance. It also looks remarkably like the SLK.
And that's no bad thing at all, but unlike the SLK, the SL is a big cruiser, not a scrappy little sports car. Now, cruisers like this are generally comfy, spacious and lovely places to be, whether you're driving to the dentist office in which you work or going on holiday to the Riviera. And the SL350 is certainly a joy to chunch around in. It is very, very lovely.
But it weighs nearly 1,700 kilos. Not exactly light, is it? I mean, for such a vast vehicle it's okay, but it's pushing it a bit to say that it's light.
Its luxuriousness adds to its paunch. Its folding metal hardtop, for example, has lots of heavy panels and mechanisms and motors, and this one has an optional Magic Sky roof, which is really smart. It turns the top panel from clear to opaque at the press of a button. And then you've got the toys in here to make it just a more comfortable driving experience. So you have cooled seats, heated seats, and even the air scarf, which means warm air is blown onto your neck if you decide to take a roof-down cruise when it's a bit chilly. Now, all of that means that the SL is an incredibly comfortable, luxurious car to drive, but it does make the 3.5-litre V6, it makes it feel as though it's 306 brake horsepower working just that little bit harder than they should. It makes it feel a touch strained, not in a bad way, not in an entirely negative way. It just feels as though it's doing a little bit more work than you'd expect from a car like this. It doesn't seem as effortless as perhaps it should.
Don't get me wrong, it's still quite brisk. 0 to 62 comes in 5.9 seconds and it'll hit 155 miles an hour. But you do expect a big GT to simply shift, where the 350 SL needs some time to get going.
To drive, it's immensely comfortable in all the standard modes. You don't so much drive it as be blown by this invisible air. You float from corner to corner. It's so comfortable, so costing and so lovely, but it does have another side to it. You can set the suspension and the gearbox into sport mode, which transforms the character of the car So you end up with a really sporty, quite fun and engaging drive, something you don't expect with an AMG. And with the bigger engine cars, you do expect just to press it and off you go into the distance at the drop of a hat. But in this, you have that option just for that little bit of edge, that little bit of extra engagement where you have to push the car, you have to feel it, you have to hear it.
Where the original, which had a similarly sized engine, was designed for speed, comfort and exclusivity, defined an era, the new SL has evolved to suit today's needs. It's bigger, full of toys that the mid-1900s could only dream of, and has eschewed the pursuit of maximum speed in favour of a more relaxed life.
You still get power certainly further up the range, and it looks great and you do feel truly special driving it, but there's something bugging me about this one, and it's the name. You see, where the original stood for sport and lightness, this one really doesn't. Over the years it's had to evolve to suit the audience that's been buying it, so it's gotten bigger and more bloated. It's lost the essence of the SL-ness, and that, while in itself is a shame, doesn't really matter, because the people that buy this car now buy it because they want a slice of SL, but they don't want to have the compromises for a lightweight sports car today. Which means an SL now, while vastly different from an SL of old, is still no bad thing.